Edmonton, Alberta, a vibrant city in the heartland of the Canadian prairies. More than 1 million people call Edmonton home, with one of the largest urban Indigenous populations in the country. But as night falls, a dark side of the city comes to life in the shadows.
We don't choose to become a working girl. Life put us there. And then we do what we can to survive where we are.
Over the last 5 decades, more than 200 women have gone missing or been murdered in Edmonton. A large number were Indigenous sex workers.
There's been situations where our women have been found, piece by piece, or not found at all. And those families struggle with so much ambiguous loss because they have no closure.
I still have a deep connection with people out here to show them that no matter how bad life is, you can move forward.
My camera person and I just landed in Edmonton, and it's pretty rainy, but we're gonna try and make the best of it. We have several interviews lined up with people who are on the ground working in the sex industry, and so we're gonna hear what they have to say about it. Liz calling Bol Taylor has experienced the dark side of these streets firsthand. Originally from the Enoch Cree Nation just outside of Edmonton, her life was beset by trauma and family tragedy from an early age.
I think my mother was working to support as a working girl. She got killed that way. My older sister, same thing. She had come with me to the foster home, of my last foster home. So she was there from 11 till she was 16, and then she ran away and she never made it to her 17th birthday.
Mary Bella and Valerie Collingbull's murders were quietly mentioned in newspaper articles at the time.
She was beat to death and found in a apartment building in the outskirts of Chinatown here in Edmonton. They found a gentleman. He pled down, got 12 years and was out in 8. And that was what my sister's life was worth. So I'm the only female survivor of my biological family.
Poverty, addiction, childhood trauma, underlying social issues that, according to calling Bol Taylor, all played a role leading up to her entering the sex trade.
There's lots of drugs, there's lots of abuse, there's a lot of really bad stuff. And I couldn't get a job and I was panicking. So one of the girls that was my roommate in the shelter said, "Come out with me."
And it's here, in the shadows of 118th Street and 97th Avenue, that calling Bol Taylor would spend the next 20 years working.
We don't choose to become a working girl. Life put us there. And then we do what we can to survive where we are.
Felicia Ricard is a Métis social worker in the city of Edmonton, doing intake and therapy sessions by day and offering harm reduction supplies by night. It's a glimmer of safety and understanding for sex workers on the streets.
Working with women has always been a really strong passion of mine. You know, to be able to empower another woman and to be able to work with them is really important to me.
Ricard developed the street outreach program after seeing a need for support and lack of services in the city. The program was designed to help women get off the streets, but also used to identify them if anything happens.
We are collecting, you know, their name, their next of kin, who we can contact if something were to happen to them. We're also collecting where their dental records are, who their family doctor is, and then all identifying information about them. We also collect information about their personal wear. So if they have jewelry that they never take off, if they wear undergarments regularly, and that's because, unfortunately, some people will take trophies in a homicide situation.
It's something the RCMP Project Care Unit was tasked with a number of years ago. The specialized unit formed in 2002 to investigate the growing number of missing and murdered women in the city. But in 2014, the unit dissolved, leaving many street-level sex workers without supports, and details of their last known whereabouts unrecorded.
There's been situations where our women have been found, you know, piece by piece, or not found at all. And those families struggle with so much ambiguous loss because they have no closure. They have no idea where their loved one is, right? They don't know whether they're in a basement or whether they're in a ditch somewhere.
An APTN investigation reveals 215 women have been murdered or gone missing in Edmonton since 1971. 47 were sex workers, and more than half were Indigenous. An ongoing crisis right in our backyard.
And at times I don't think we knew it was that bad. But when girls started going missing, or I remember come back, we wouldn't find them beat up. That took away a lot of that. Then it got scary.
With the RCMP's Project Care Unit no longer in operation, outreach workers like Felicia Ricard have taken it upon themselves to patrol the streets. She routinely hands out bad date lists, which provides sex workers a description of clients' appearances, vehicles, and dangers to watch out for.
West End, right? Mm-hmm. And then when I heard that about myself,
yeah.
Now that
hey,
because
last night this guy was driving around. I kind of thought so. I said they described the vehicle to me.
Yeah.
He was driving behind 7 on Lucky 97.
Yeah, he's been out a lot. I took that picture of him because he was circling me while she was reporting to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
You know what?
So keep an eye out. His plate's on there.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And if you guys ever have any that you need to report, let me know. Okay. You know, it's never a fun situation to have to take somebody to the hospital because they've been assaulted, or have to fill out a bad date report, or call police because they've been assaulted or something has happened to them. And that means that they're struggling, right? Many of them have said that every car that they get into, they sell a piece of their soul when they get into that car.
As early as 1987, experts believed a serial killer was responsible for the large number of missing and murdered women. It's a theory that persisted throughout the decades.
The site where the remains of Dolores Brower and now Corey Ottenbright were found in a rural Leduc County is within a 5-mile radius of where Katie Ballantyne was found back in 2003, and where Amber Tuckerow was found in 2012. I can also tell you that one of the investigative theories in relation to these deaths is that we may be dealing with a serial predator.
But I've worked in Winnipeg, I worked in Kenora, I worked in a lot of places, Ottawa, Toronto. But of all the places I think this one was, Edmonton was the scariest. Really? Yeah. So there's a lot of predators here in Edmonton, and a lot of girls went missing here. A lot. We took care of each other. We had to, because so many went missing. And bones were found a few years later when the girls that were gone, they found outside of Edmonton. Even though I've been off the street for about 11 years now, almost 11 years, it'll be 11 years in September, I still have a deep connection with people out here to show them that it is a possibility that no matter how bad life is, you can move forward. But it's hard, incredibly hard. But I'll come back, I'll be back around, and then I can take you to see Felicia, and maybe we can do a little bit there to help you get through this. Okay? And I hope to see you very soon, okay? All right, you take care.
Felicia Ricard drives the streets of Edmonton to offer supports for vulnerable women in the city, and 118th Avenue is on her nightly route. The stretch of road is infamously known as the heart of the city's sex trade. It's also the last known whereabouts for several sex workers and Indigenous women who have vanished.
Yeah.
Definitely. In house, we wouldn't have to go to guys' houses and get half killed there sometimes. Or like right now,
More places to
we're hearing about all these, there's this rapist guy. They should have more of these people that drive around and watch us. But we got you guys. You guys are all we got left.
Yeah.
Really, we got, honestly. But they need to try to get us housing, because that's one thing that we don't have. That's the main thing that we don't have is housing.
Yeah.
Like, if I had housing, I wouldn't even be honest.
Ricard says the creation of the bad date list is part of an ongoing effort to create ways to make sex work safer in the city.
I'll never forget the first time that a participant was murdered. Those things, you become such a big part of their life, and in doing that, you form these really important relationships, and they become such a big part of your life, right?
We'd have, maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 to 6 girls in one area, and then the dates would pull up and point, and you'd go. The police would come around, and everything would disappear, and then maybe an hour or 2, and then you'd go back and do it again.
Liz Bol Taylor has been off the streets and out of the industry for more than 10 years now. She agreed to take APTN Investigates back to one of the neighborhoods she used to work.
You do learn very quickly what you can or cannot do out here. And if a girl gives you, say, this vehicle, don't go in it, you don't. Some of them didn't listen, and then we never saw them again. But there's a lot of that out here in Edmonton. I remember, when I was out here, that would have been at the start about 20 years ago, because that was when it was still here. I remember 4 girls going missing in a span of a year and a half.
Of the more than 200 women who have gone missing over the last 40-plus years in the Edmonton area, many were found in rural areas on the outskirts of the city, and many of the victims were Indigenous women.
I lost so many people out here, people I loved, people who were family, but at the same time, so many survived, and those are the ones that I still hang out with this very day, even though I'm in a different world than they are now. But this was home. This was home for well over 20 years.
The sex trade industry has evolved over the years. No longer only found on the streets, sex work has become more mainstream and accepted.
I felt just kind of like this weight on me when I first started dancing. I was talking to one of my coworkers and I was like, is this supposed to feel bad? And she was like, no, it's a business. This is your business. This is income. This is you working.
A way of reclaiming power that rings true for this local sex worker and advocate, known only by their working name, Cinnamon.
I felt a lot of anxiety, and still do time to time, because of boundaries and not being able to set my own boundaries, and just like feeling like I couldn't say no a lot of the time. That also left very, very quickly when I realized that it's all up to me and I get to choose everything, and that made me feel very powerful.
They say it's important for the public to know that there are differences between sex work and sex trafficking, and that not all sex workers are being exploited.
For example, here, there's a lot of different circumstances to safety when it comes to sex work, because working in a studio, you have the safety net of people working with you. You know, so if something has gone wrong, you have the ability to open the door and somebody is here and they are there for you and ready to support you.
According to Cinnamon, with the decriminalization of sex work, the industry could be better regulated and made safer for workers.
With decrim as well, I think I said it before, but just like we would be able to have our safety nets available to us, like a bodyguard or a driver, or like having a backup phone number so people know where you are for an out call. Essentially, decriminalization is our safety and our well-being.
So you can go on the internet and find them a lot easier. It's more anonymous. You don't have to, the Johns don't have to drive around downtown looking for some of the girls working the streets. It's a lot easier now to remain hidden for the Johns.
Staff Sergeant Chris Hayes is with the Alberta Law Enforcement Response Team, otherwise known as ALERT. The unit was established in 2006 to combat organized and serious crime, including human trafficking.
There's some specific websites that are out there for escorts to use, and same with human trafficking, or human traffickers use it to traffic their victims. But that's the majority of the sex trade that we see in Edmonton now. There still is, of course, street prostitution, but it's not as prevalent as it was some years ago.
While street-level sex work may not be as prevalent, human trafficking is on the rise. In the last 3 years, the ALERT unit have laid more than 300 charges through human trafficking investigations.
A lot of times what we see is the main trafficker is typically a male, and he will have kind of his number one girl who works for him, who will recruit other girls. But she's also been trafficked at the start too, and they almost do it so that they don't have to work in the sex trade anymore. They find someone else, they lure someone else, they procure them, they teach them what to do, so that they don't have to do that.
According to Hayes, there are many challenges to identifying if a person is being trafficked, as the sex work industry has shifted with online use.
There's sometimes a misconception from the purchasers that these girls are doing it willingly. There's not very many girls that are out there doing it willingly.
A rock bottom to me for mine was, what am I more afraid of, dying or change?
It would be more than 20 years on the streets before she decided she wanted a different life.
There was an older Aboriginal woman on the corner, and it stuck with me. She was almost 60, and here she is in the middle of winter wearing rubber boots and a winter coat, and she's trying to make money for her habit. And all I could think of was that I will never do that.
Calling Bol Taylor says the trauma and violence she endured on the streets were hard on her family, and that she couldn't imagine the devastation it would bring to her loved ones if she were to go missing or be murdered.
Like, I couldn't quit the money, but then I also couldn't cope with how I was feeling about. There was a lot of guilt and shame in what I was doing, and I couldn't stop. I just didn't want to die out here. And I didn't want to leave that kind of memory with my children.
It's okay. You cry it out, let it out. Don't hold on to it.
But in reality, it does feel like it's always going to be a part of me, this being out here. It made me who I am today, and I understand that, but it doesn't take away. There's a lot of anger here, too.
It's a part of you, but it's not you.
That's not me anymore, no.
It's not who you are.
No, it never was. I understand that, but it doesn't change the feelings I get from being down here. It brings back that loneliness, that there's something wrong with me, and why me, all that stuff. It is not easy to go through the healing process in any way, shape, or form. Everything's happened so organically with my journey to get here. And I'm really proud that I can do this and be open and share and not be ashamed of what I did to survive, to get to where I am.